Morning everybody. Got a little bit of time this morning and the weather for once has actually been playing ball in the last wee while. It's been pretty wet here. These guys are loving the fact that the sun's out. Anyway, enough about the chickens. I've got a little bit of a project to do. So into the shed and I'll give you a look. Now you'll remember when we picked the car up, it came with a dash. Here it is. So this is it. Now, as explained beforehand, yeah, they got cut for a cage. But hey, it's not the worst thing in the world. A couple of small sort of marks here on the dash, but man, it is in really good condition. Small crack there, scuff, but look, vents, pretty good. The bones are there. It's exactly what I was after and what I need. Now, as you can see, no glove box, no stereo shifter surround, and no cluster or trim piece that goes in there as well. However, we have parts, specifically these parts. These are all spares that I've just collected over the years, either been given or they've just come off the other car. I guess we call it the road car now. I got this one, oops, because I actually needed the latch out of it, and it doesn't have any hinges on the bottom either, I don't think. I have a look at my drawer of many things, interior bits anyway, but you know, I think I'd need to make up some hinges that go down the bottom there, and then think about a latch for up here, because I think that's kind of cool. Like, you know, to have a track car with like a glove box like that, I think that's pretty cool. And I've got some plans about actually how to actually use this, as far as potentially a secondary light switch. The next piece of the puzzle, this. My intention is to actually do an in-dash hydro like the road car. I'm just going to let it sit in there for now. So that's going to take up the DIN space, maybe only half of it, not sure. However, that also leaves this space, because we're obviously not going to have HVAC. We may set up a defrost blower, but again, that's probably just going to have single speed and just toggle. And yeah, so we've kind of got a bit of a solution that we'll go through for today for this. This was actually the original, the top piece anyway, was the original piece that came off that puppy. So I have to go and fish eye at the moment, because it is, trying to show everything. So it's been, cut up, a few holes, bits and pieces. So yeah, but perfect for, oh no. I guess you didn't want to stay there, did you? Anyway, that'll learn me. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, perfect for that. And then the last piece here that we have, this. So, idea being, we'll probably just make our own gauge cluster. And we'll go into that in a bit as well. First things first, let's properly clip that in. Actually, no, what we might do is we'll just do another quick dummy up. And this is it. Now, very Billy basic. I think this was about 30 bucks delivered. I'll probably use this for the main switches on the car. Now, I think you can kind of guess where I'm going with this. There. That was kind of my idea. I'll probably, if I can't find an ignition barrel for it, because I it's got pretty much no wiring. I'll turn one of these to a momentary and do all the main stuff on here. So let's see. This is a legitimate first test. Okay, so hole mounting points are a bit short. That's fine, we can deal with that. Let's just see how it goes with regards to, well, it's kind of good because it's not going to go across the, the hole mounting piece. So let's see if this works. Ooh, one moment, I have to put this down, 2 hands needed. All right, now, yes, I think the buttons, switches will fit through. So if I just sort of go like that, you can kind of get a bit of an idea that the corner of this button, the corner of that are all good. And then height wise, we'll just sneak through. So what we going to end up doing here is probably mounting this to this trim piece. So I'll have to put a plug to feed all these individual pins off that, so when we pull this off, unplug, good to go. This is kind of cool how it's just got like one positive and negative. So that would hopefully give us the standoff. I'll just have to double check that. Oh, I don't know. But the thing that's kind of making us up at the moment here is these two mounting bits here being too narrow for the panel, so I can sort of slot it in one side, but you can see the other there. So I'm going to center this as best as I can, and then just give it a little bit of a notch. I'm just wondering whether it is actually just the, like, is it just the outrigger? It might actually just be these little plastic bits here, like, so there are these little slots up here, but that does give it some left to right load. I think I'm probably better to cut this as opposed to this, because this is plastic, and if I weaken this any further, then it's going to get real. How you going? Right, check back in a sec. Alrighty, it's mounted in there. Now, it's just wedged in place for now. I have sort of put all the pops, clip thingies in for that, so that is mounted. It looks like because of the tightness of the bevel around the edge, I think we're going to have to do mount it to this trim piece. The trim piece isn't quite just sitting flush there, but I'm hoping once I can finalize the mounting, I can make any sort of trimming that I need to make it work. But I think this is going to work really well. You can see it's just a little bit stiff on that. So that means if it's pulled all the way out and then shoved all the way over, it's just going to give that extra couple of mil, and I think I've just got to slide it up. That end one is the notchiest. Everything else goes smoothly. All right, so this is kind of the next piece of the puzzle. Now, the idea is I'm not going to run a factory cluster. It's not really going to be needed for anything. I would like to wire this in for hazards if I can. I'm hoping I can find a few blanks. I think I've actually got some out the back here. Funny enough, I've actually got 2 hazard buttons, but I've got a couple of these. Yeah, one's a bit haggard, and well, both of them are a bit haggard. I think I sort of gave away my last few of those. Anyway, so yeah, we'll sort something out there. However, yeah, I would like the gauges to go there. Now, I originally had ideas of, I made a template out of here, and as you can see, because of the crease, the back of this is actually not flat, it actually curves a little bit. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go through and like make a make that and then mount that to this, and there's not a lot of meat on the back there as well for mounting anything, and if it's going to be mounted, it's not really going to be removable, it's going to have to be glued or something. So that wasn't filling me with a lot of confidence, but I thought at the very least I could trace this out of some plastic or steel and bond it in there. But I could do something a bit different, and the thing that really got me was this. All right, I hope you can see because I kind of need 2 hands for this. Now, the thing that got me was I had a couple of gauges and I was trying to mock them up in here, and then one of them still had the mount on it. And I'm like, oh, you know, I should, you know, pop that out and pop it in there. I was like, what can I use as a lock? I kind of thought, sort of had that epiphany moment of, hang on a second, if I just mounted these up like that, I can mount them to this piece here where there's lots of meat. I can drill through this. Yes, hey, it is, I don't know how sought after these are now. And this one's not cracked and it's not too bad, but, or maybe I try and use these mounting pad things. But it also brings all the gauges out a bit further as well, so they're not hidden all the way in there. So it makes it a lot more front and center. Now, yes, that's just a cheap electronic boost gauge. Now, what I do have, and what I kind of thought this would be really cool, is I've got an oil pressure like this. So oil pressure gauge, boost pressure, but I could do that. More important one in the middle. Oil temp, could pop over there, and then water temp here. Idea being I sort of cram them as much as I can down, and then the very middle there, I'll just get a small rev counter. I kind of think that's pretty cool. And again, wire everything into a single plug in, plug out for all the sensors, the power ground and the sensor. I've got all the bits and pieces in here for wiring this stuff in as well. Even got all the, and that's all the bits and pieces for the boost gauge. I may swap this out. We tried to use this on Shaden's Plus T like 8 years ago, and it was really jerky. I do prefer to use sort of manual gauges when it comes to boost. Don't like to use them. Don't like to use analog ones for like the oil pressure because it brings it oil into the cabin. Anyway, there's kind of my thoughts. So I've got, these are still in their cups, and I've still got the mounts in here as well. So I can sort of jam that on that, jam that there, and then it's a simple thing of either gluing or taping and bonding on. So, or screwing. So that's kind of my thoughts. I reckon that would look really cool. It would be good to actually get a white-faced manual 60mm manual boost gauge for that one, so we can do away with this cheap AliExpress jobby. Yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts. I reckon that'd be pretty cool. So I'm just going to pack these bits and pieces away. I have these left over from when I put Defi digital sort of single screen in the road car, because that was, yeah, I just wanted to do a bit of a refresh, and these were kind of period specific, but I got auto gauge because for the price point and everything, they were pretty good. They had warning lights, which is what I really wanted. Warning buzzers would be better, but you know, especially for, not so much for oil temp, but for the other two, for the oil pressure and water temp. The water temp has saved me a couple of times actually. The old crate, she hasn't really ever had oil pressure issues. Some people just think it's like a Jay-Z in disguise. Anyway, on to the next bit. Now, this popped up on Marketplace. This is one of these Marketplace find things that you just... Now, I realized I didn't actually video this part very well, was that this was advertised pretty loosely, and as you can see from that, the serial number is, well, that's unfortunate. is actually not complete and is worn off. So we have to open it up to find out what it actually is, because this plug is actually used for a few other different vehicles as well, but probably not vehicles that would actually have a power FC. Anyway, right. The only way I'm really going to know is if I have a look at the serial number on the board. Now, when I first got my Power FC in the other car, it was actually blown. I think I got it for like $500 with a hand controller, and back then that was cheap. So yeah, so that one had to go off, get repaired, and it's been fine ever since. Right. Ooh. This isn't an RB20. Now, while it's not an RB20 Power FC, all is not lost, because it's an RB25. I'll try and double check some of these codes, but I'm pretty sure that this is an RB25, just based on that. FC1 R25, yeah, so FC1, so that's the first gen. Now, I believe it is a couple of injector pins that just need to be switched over, which I'll do on the loom. But this is great. This gives me a bit of flexibility, because being RB25, it should also have VCT controls. So, pretty stoked. I'm just going to have a quick look through this and just see if I can see any visible burnt tracks or damage or anything. Or anything that's popped and burned. Generally, you want to have a look in the spots where some of the power comes in, and that's in some of these bigger pins here. So I'm just trying to look over the top of you guys at the moment. But no, looks pretty good. Can't see anything visibly smoky in where all the smoke got let out. So there might be a little bit of finagling and everything around, but we can definitely make it work. So, not what was advertised, but we can still make it work, and for the price I was kind of expecting a surprise anyway. Now, my original plan was actually to use just an air fuel controller on a stock ECU, throw some, like on a 20D ECU, just basic as. But when a deal pops up like that and the algorithm says, hey, you've been talking about RB20 things, here's an ECU, kind of can't ignore stuff like that. Massive thanks to Shane as well, Mr. Windley, for going and purchasing that and sending it up to me. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Updates coming through soon, and to be honest, I think I might just throw a couple of them in here. Mac has actually already been making some progress on the chassis, and just tidying up some of the rough edges. Thanks for joining me.